welcome to the Writer's Mindset series. I am Yvonne Redden, and I'll be chatting to a variety of storytellers to find out what inspires and motivates a writer. Is it a particular mindset that you can develop, or are writers born with this gift of storytelling? And my questions incorporate the 5 W's of journalism, and we'll get into that now in a second. My guest this week is Jane Buckley. Thank you for joining me today, Jane.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to have got the opportunity.
Yeah, I know we've been interacting a good bit, but never got a chance to chat. So this is a great way of chatting to each other virtually anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Not the same as face to face. I miss everyone.
I know it's not the same, but look, it's as good as, isn't it, for the moment?
Yeah,
you have to just do it. Now,
Yeah.
this is a word that came up when I looked into your books, and I've never heard it before, a tetralogy. I love it.
I mean, I can hardly even say it. It was
actually, so it means it is a 4 book.
It's a lovely word. I mean, it's a
it.
really nice word. And because obviously I was looking at, I'll tell you in a bit, but it started off as 1 book and then evolved into 4 books. And then there was actually a guy from Derry who lives in the UK. He sent me a terrific review, and he'd used the word tetralogy. Tetralogy, that's it, tetralogy. And I had to look it up because I'd never come across it. And of course, it is a series of literature for 4 books. So rather than a trilogy, it's the next step up. So I've just used it and abused it because I think it sounds like a word.
I love words. So that word was great. Now, so, and you're currently on number 3. So let's begin. So I do the 5 W's. So let's begin with who. So who has been influential in your writing career so far?
In my writing, I mean, I've always been an avid reader. I mean, you never saw me without a book just growing up. And, having lived in London for over 30 years, most of us who do live in London have had that experience of commuting. Yeah. So you would have this sort of an hour and a half journey back and forward. I mean, I love all genres. I mean, I love thrillers. I love, I'll be totally honest, I loved the Stephen King books. As a kid growing up, I loved all the horror books. I loved the classics, the Jane Eyres and the Pride and Prejudice, which I've read over and over. So I'm open to just a good book. And what entices me into a book is literally the first paragraph. Yeah. I don't know, I'd sort of read the first paragraph. It really has to hook me straight away. So, I love... Rebecca is another book that I love. I mean, I remember reading Gone with the Wind that took me what seemed like a lifetime to read, So Dracula.
Is there any people that you've met along the way?
People.
Definitely books and stuff you've read, because I loved thrillers too growing up. My mother was an avid reader too. She loved Linda Plant. She loved So we got all them books as well. So I do love thrillers as well. I love all that, but I like different genres as well. I love memoir as well. I love people's stories. But there's definitely a couple of people who influenced me. Like in my journalism college, the teacher were the same age as me when I went to college. They definitely influenced me in my journey. Like, is there? Well,
I'd have to say my husband. I mean, definitely my husband. I mean, school-wise. There was one teacher, a teacher called Catherine McLaughlin, and she was a new graduated teacher. We were her first class ever, and she taught English literature and language. And you could tell as an adult, I can look back and see she was a natural. She loved reading and books. And I remember her doing Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. And we were in a porter cabin in this huge school that hadn't even been finished, but I always look forward to those classes. So I'd definitely say Miss McLaughlin, as I would have called her. I have no idea where she is now. But then when I started to write, I mean, John, my husband, has been a terrific influencer and a real rock in anytime I write. Anything that I write, I would run past him first. Yeah. And we've got this, we've now that we're at the 3rd book, we have this process where he wants to know absolutely nothing about the storyline, where I'm going with it. Because he actually gets quite a thrill out of reading each chapter after I've done it. Yeah. And he said, oh, didn't see that one coming, even though he has his own idea of where it's going. So I think John has been a terrific support for me.
I mean, they say you shouldn't get your family and friends to read your stuff because they'd be biased and they'd be afraid.
Well, I know. I know. Oh no, man, not my husband. No, there's no way that he was just, I mean, he was a management consultant for many years. So he's got this sort of almost analytical mind that is straight down the middle, facts, so he doesn't. In fact, we've got a scoring system. So
So it's working well so far for you, Jane. So there's
I'm
something
doing
out there.
okay.
And
I'm doing okay.
let's tell everyone who watches this what your genre of writing is and why you picked it.
Yeah, it's a thriller. It's a thriller with an element of there's a good love story in it. But the reason I chose to write about the troubles here in the north of Ireland was I was very fortunate to, I worked for American Express for quite a number of years. And as a result of that, I was able to get around the world, travel all over the world, which was wonderful. I mean, for a Derry girl to get to just to see places I never dreamt. Yeah. But over and over again, you know, people knew of the troubles in Ireland, but they never really understood why they'd started and, you know, how long. I mean, for 30 years, how long, and especially at the moment, things are still on a very thin ice, you know, so you know, you would tell the story, you know, you would explain it. But what I wanted to do was to educate maybe the next generation, the younger generation, by telling a thrilling story that they would learn and enjoy at the same time. You know, so and that's really what I try. That's my mother. Mommy, I'm being videoed. Don't work with mothers, animals, or children. Yeah, sorry, apologies for that. Mom. That's fine, yeah. Okay. And there's Mom, don't come in. Anyways, sorry guys.
This is the way it is.
So yeah, so the whole idea of writing a thrilling series was to give readers the opportunity to learn, but also enjoy. You know, there's a couple of plots in there that
it's historical fiction, Jane, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's historical fiction.
Telling a bit of history as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it starts off in 1972, just after Bloody Sunday. So what I've done is I've topped and tailed true events, brought them into the storyline, obviously being very sensitive to not naming names or changing locations, but, you know, things that actually did happen. And honestly, Yvonne, I thought I had an understanding of the troubles, you know, as a 17-year-old when I left Derry, but some of the things that I've read and I've researched has just been heartbreaking. Doesn't even begin to describe some of the awful things that, you know, that happened and the fallout. So, and, you know, I think one of the things I've learned is demographically, I was targeting younger people. However, you know, from looking at the people who are buying the book, it's predominantly people who did live through the troubles. And it's almost like their light bulbs are going off, you know, they're going, I remember that. And
so it's interesting that you say that, because your demographic for who you wrote the story was kind of changed as you wrote it. So that's interesting, isn't it? And I hate that word, the troubles, because I mean, it was a lot more than just troubles as well. But look, let's not get into the political side of it. But look, it's a great story, and it's going into 4 books, which is even great. And you continued the same characters in the 4 books. I mean, I've actually had to produce a file. There are so many. I've got so many. I think there's something like up to 40 characters, and that sounds phenomenal. And probably everything that you've been taught, you know, any professional writers have been taught, don't do that, that's too many, but for some reason it seems to work really well. It's worked really well. Find it hard to like, how long does it take you to write a story? Like give me a little bit of a timeline, how long it would take you, and once you have it in your head, how do you plot it all out? I mean, what I do is I try to write a chapter. When I write a book, I try to do a chapter every couple of days, so it's 2,000 words. And from before I do that, I've obviously I've got a flipboard now where I just literally have a brain dump, and then I get into the research. And from doing the research, you know, there's things, flashbulbs going off, thinking, oh, that would fit well with A, B, and C, or why don't we try and get this to come together? So that it's actually the events. You know, I've used the Kane archives from Ulster University that literally go through day by day events that happened throughout the 30 years of the Troubles. Wow. Key events, you know, even smaller events, so little snippets of stories that probably have never made the news but are still very poignant and, you know, very, very sad, or even some good news as well. Although I have to say, you know, with the books, you've got Stone's Corner Turmoil, just when the Trouble started. You've got Darkness, which you know, was in the mid-70s, which involves some of the, I don't know if you've seen the review, but or the storyline, but it involves the Armagh, women's Armagh prison. Okay.
You know, and when there was, you know, disputes and things at the prison, you know, from literally from 1 year, there was 2 women prisoners to, you know, there was over 100 within a matter of months. And
wow.
you
Yeah.
know, it was a Victorian prison. But Stones Corner Light at the moment starts in 1981, and I'm really struggling trying to find anything light, you know, a positive storyline. I've managed to find a couple, which is good news.
Yeah.
But you know, it's actually probably one of the toughest to write. So yeah, 2,000 words a day, and the ideas just come together. And do not disturb.
Yeah, and then sometimes you can be on a roll as well from talking to the people. Like it loads comes to you, maybe from research, and you get these, and you want to keep going because you don't want to disturb that you know,
absolutely,
that movement that you're on, the flow. And like, is there like a location that you like to write in, Jane, or is it anywhere?
We have a Le Caravan in a mobile home, you know, the posh word. I don't know what the posh word is for it, but we have a very nice caravan near Dunfanaghy, which is in the Donegal coast. So I would take Ned the dog, and I would go down there for 2 or 3 days, and I just love it. I mean, I love my husband, I love my daughter who's living with us now, but I love not being disturbed. You know, like, you know, sort of, so I do try to do that, you know, as much as I possibly can.
Oh, I'd say that's fabulous.
No, it's great. I mean, the wind, I mean, you think this thing's going to take off and land in Oz, you know, the wind, it's, you know, by the sea and everything. So it's
but it all adds to what you're creating in your book as well. You know, using your 5 senses and describing all them noises. I'd say, because I'd say there was a lot of noise in the Troubles years ago, and it's describing that, isn't it? You know, in your books,
it is
bringing people in there to see what it was like.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched a lot of footage, but I mean, you know, I was 17 when I left. So I mean, for example, the first chapter in Turmoil is a house being raided. I mean, that was based on our house was raided, not as much as many houses were. I mean, that was a continual thing, but you know, we were raided, you know, and you just get the Saracens and the, you know, coming into the back, you know, the back of the street, and then that was it. So so that's quite a hard-hitting chapter for an introductory, you know, for the first chapter. So, and I think that's deterred, I've been told, you know, you might have read this, but I had one particular publisher in England who was just so blatant, you know, never have, never will have anything to do with the Troubles, you know. So it's a very personal thing, and it's not, you know, my books may not be for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've tried to be as objective as I possibly can.
Yeah, and you'll find your demographic and your audience, don't you? You find that, and that's who you're writing for, and that's it. That's why there's so many different genres, and it works. And like, is there a better time for you to write? I know you go up to Donegal, but do you find mornings, or if you're in the flow, just whatever all day? Do you just?
I much prefer mornings. I have to say. I think, you know, if you've taken, you know, the dog a good walk, and even when you're walking, your head never stops when you're writing a book. I mean, it's just you wake up. You need a little book as you're walking along. Oh God, I know, it's true, isn't it? And you send yourself messages on the phone. The dog's looking at you, say, "I'm here." You know, talk to me. The voice recorder. Okay, no, I'd say if anyone listened to the voice recorder, they'd be going, "What the hell is it? This one's exactly. Kill her! I'm going to kill him! I'm going to." It's really funny. I'm really careful now. I mean, Big Brother's watching. I'm googling all these things, you know, about the IRA and the UVF and everything, and I'm thinking, if your computer was taken off, I know. So I don't have to get a knock at the door. You know? So I'm watching all these videos. And it won't be your mother this time, Jane. I will not. It'll be these dark dressing, you know. Oh, shiver. It's gas. I know. Nothing's private anymore. It's crazy. It's not. And why do you write yourself, Jane? And do you think that you need a certain type of mindset? I always think, can you develop it, or is it just something that you have in you? You know, like I mean, I am absolutely flabbergasted and almost embarrassed, because I just decided to write a book literally 5 or 6 years ago. I've always been a storyteller. I mean, I do remember making up stories. In fact, I've got my grandson who lives in Auckland, and he used to give me, during the first lockdown, he would give me an animal and a letter from the alphabet, and I would do video stories to him. So I would write these stories and read them to him. So you're a natural storyteller. Well, I mean, I remember the first time I ever sent the first draft of Turmoil to Lynn Curtis, who's my editor in the UK, and she came back, and shame on me when I think about what I sent. Oh, it was awful, absolutely awful.
Right, were you saying like the vomit draft?
Oh, it was, but I didn't even know what a vomit draft. I mean, we're talking serious vomiting here, But her message was loud and clear, and I've still got it. She said, a natural storyteller. The ingredients were there.
Yeah.
The storyline was there, but the pot wasn't being stirred very well, or the oven was too high.
But you turn that constructive critique into, right, you have to, you can't get defensive about it. You have to go, okay, right, these are professionals, they know their stuff, and you learn about it.
I had no problem with it, because I was a new kid on the block, and she's just, as you know yourself, it's just, she's someone that I would implicitly trust now, because again, she didn't hold back, and I like that. I have no problem with that. There's a guy, one particular bookshop, I won't name names, but he had the courtesy to ring me, and he said, and again, he said, yeah, you're a great story, but you use far too many words. You just use far too many words for my liking. And I thought, well, you know what? So be it. He's probably right. In fact, the more you write, obviously, the more you streamline, and you've got a natural, there's a certain element of words that you'd use.
Interesting, because I struggle, you see. I think I'm more of a short story writer, and kind of anthology. I have written something, but it's only 25,000 words. I mean, that's probably only a couple of chapters in your thoughts. I struggle that way, and I think some writers, Billy O'Callaghan, he writes shorter novels as well, fiction novels. I look at Marion Keyes, and hers are like huge. I don't know how. It's definitely, it's a hard one, isn't it? Like, do you just keep going with the words? How do you get that amount of words on the paper?
The only way I can describe it is, I'm a very fast typist. I mean, I was a secretary, so I don't even have to think when I use the keyboard. But I mean, I was writing one scene last week, but I find myself, and I don't know if you do the same, but I'm actually in the location. I'm in the room with these people.
Yeah.
I'm totally, and they become so real to you. You really feel that you're talking to them. So maybe I'm just writing literally word by word what they're saying, and then and I just don't seem to have a problem in just blurting it all out. That it's hopefully it's not vomit anymore. But Lynn Curtis, even she took about 15, I think it was 15,000 words out of Darkness, because I was doing it.
Oh my God!
It's 135,000 words. These are big books. So
they are.
So it's so I think with writing light, I've been very conscious of that. I'm trying to not use too many of the had to, and all the little.
But if that's the way you do it, that's the way you do it. You can't change the way you write. Not at this stage, anyway.
No,
you're doing something right anyway. But you only started writing then a couple of years ago, like 7 years.
Yeah. It was in 2000. It was the first Monday in January 2017, and John and I we've been living in France. And we decided, because we'd obviously lived in London and the kids had all gone, we moved down to France when he retired, and we thought, well, we'll come back to Ireland. So we rented a cottage up at Malin Head for December and January. I mean, you couldn't open the car door without putting the window down. I mean, the wind was all over the place.
I can imagine,
But it was magic. It was absolutely magic. And I just thought, right, I'm going to write a book. And then I just started, and I feel so privileged.
It was meant to be written, though. I think, and if there's nothing out there like it, it's a book that's supposed to be written. Isn't that what they say? So.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. And so far, I mean, the reviews have just.
You've got great reviews.
The reviews have been unbelievable. Hard to get readers to leave reviews. I think that's probably one of the most important but difficult things to do without.
Something to think about for publishers and agents. I mean, how do you do even like some kind of reward system for reviews or something? I know, because a lot of authors need the reviews, they do. It makes
the lifeline, aren't they? I mean, and obviously with Kindle, it has to do this algorithm and all that. I haven't even begun to try and even conquer that sort of element of it.
I know it's very competitive, and Amazon makes it more competitive as well, doesn't it?
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I've seen a book on there that was only published. Oh, which one was it? I can't remember the name, forgive me, but it probably had about 45 reviews, and it was, you know, #1 bestseller. And I'm thinking, well, how can that be? But I don't understand it yet. And I'll be honest, I just want to write the next 2, and then I'll go full hog on them, because I'm not sure I'll write after that.
Okay, how do you know that you have 4 books in you? Like, how do you know there's 4? If you're only on the 3rd one now, how do you know there's another one?
Oh, because I know the final chapter in book 4.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
I know exactly what's going to happen, and I've no idea how I'm going to get there. But I don't know how I do it.
That's mad. How you know there's 4 books and you haven't even. You're only on number 3 now. That's incredible.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I published, because I started writing Turmoil, as I say, in 2017, and then with the first lockdown, I finished it. And it was ready to publish in January of this year. And then last winter, on the 2nd lockdown, I wrote Darkness. So then I was able to spend the sort of 3 or 4 months getting that copy edited and everything, and that was released in September. So
you used your lockdown time well, for sure, didn't you?
Oh, but you know, like everybody, you know, I think
not everybody did, but I mean, I kept myself busy too. But I think a lot of writers as well used the time to just switch off and didn't write.
And didn't write.
Yeah, a couple of people I spoke to, they couldn't. It's like a block, you know. So I think it depends. You know, you had stuff to write. You wanted to get this out, so you used the time. And like, is there any advice that you would give to new emerging writers that you wish someone maybe had told you?
Yeah, I mean, just don't give up. I mean, quite frankly, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I mean,
you can't say that. You're
oh, well, it's like anything. If you put your mind to it, if you try, I honestly can say I've done my utmost and my best.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked really hard at it, and I think it's like everything in life. If you put the work in, you get the reward. So that would be my advice too. You know, if you feel, most people, I was going to say, have common sense, but I mean, if you want to write and you love writing, and I mean, who cares? If you love it and it makes you happy, just do it.
I know for sure. I agree.
And I'm a great believer in fate too. You know, if this is meant to be, you know, if it takes off, terrific. If it doesn't, and it's a legacy for my grandchildren as well. I mean, they live in New Zealand. You know, they've got their little New Zealand accents, but I want them to know about what my life was like, and what Ireland to me is incredibly important. You know, I love Derry. I love the people.
And they have these books to know, you know, absolutely.
So that's probably, that's enough for me, actually. You know, if it does better than that, terrific. But, you know. And
they're doing really well. Is there, and listen, what are you reading at the moment? Have you got 3 books you're reading, or are you reading anything? Have you got time to read?
I haven't got time to read at the moment. I mean, I've got a couple of political books that I'm reading as part of the research, but no, I haven't. I just haven't got the time.
I know, I'm like that as well. I have a load of books there. I'm trying to read. I'm trying to get through them. It's just too hard, isn't it? And tell people where they can find you, Jane.
Well, the books can be ordered on my website on janebucklywrites.com.
Okay,
and
great.
They're on Amazon, and we've got them in our local bookshop here in Derry, Little Acorns, and anywhere. I mean, Waterstone's online, some of the big bookshops online. But I like to actually, because I actually send the books out myself, because I like to little messages and notes and things and everything. So
I love that.
Yeah, no idea what that is.
It's all going your house, Jane, isn't
it? I know. I'm so sorry.
And listen, you're on Facebook and you're on Instagram and you're on Twitter, aren't you?
Yes, indeed. Yes, great. I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Jane. That was it.
Thank you.
So, many thanks for your time. And if anyone would like to contact me, I'm across most platforms, and all these will be on YouTube as well. And see you next time on The Writer's Mindset. Thanks, Jane. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.